It's real early. So I had intended on making this video last night, but I've been working on trying to get to bed at a certain time and waking up earlier. So we doing it in the morning, but it's Thursday. Happy Jupiter Day blessings, okay? Um, my name is Chanel. I'm with Lizzie's Charm. I am a mystic diviner and hoodoo practitioner. And today we are sharing a conjure story, okay? So get comfortable. I don't know how long this is gonna be. All right, I have me some tea here, getting the morning going and flowing. All right, and yeah, so we're gonna call this story The Hanged Man. So back in 2019, my best gal, she hit me up, reached out to me. We had actually just reconnected a few months before this because we had a time lapse in between our friendship or our connection, based off of life just happening. She was at one time in Houston, then she moved back to Austin, and I was here in Houston just living for real. And so we had reconnected, and she called me up one day and she was like, bitch, I got an idea. So this is her. This is Jazz. Everybody say hey to Jazz. If you don't know Jazz, she operates House of Chiron. She's an astrologer. Y'all go find her. I have her information below. All right. I will also tag her in this video on the other places that it goes. Okay. So she's like, I got an idea. And I'm like, okay, what's up? I'm down. Don't even know what this idea is about to be. That's fine. So she's like, let's put ourselves in some jars. One jar for cleansing, right, and purification. And what was more of a cleansing jar. And then the other one, she's like, then after that, we'll put ourselves in a honey jar. I was like, okay, cool. I'm down. Let's do that. So the cleansing jar, she's like, let's put ourselves in a vinegar jar. And I'm like, okay, all right. And it's funny because when she told me that, I wasn't hesitant about it, but in my body, I was like, vinegar. So as I go along in this story, I hope that this conveys the importance of what I've said in previous videos, like how important it is to connect with the spirits of what it is that you're using in your work. Right, really know them, really connect with them, right? Because based off of that and whatever other spirits it is that you utilize within them, along with the words that you write, the petitions, the words that you speak over it, right? It all matters. So in my vinegar jar, I had one of those little small 4-ounce mason jars, and I put various herbs in there. I'm not even sure how many I did. I probably put way more than I needed to. And when you get to mixing a lot of different spirits together, a lot of different herbs together, it can really be too much. You really don't want to be using like no more than 13 for real. And that you don't even really need. But I use quite a few herbs because I'm an herb collector and I have all the herbs that I need at any given moment, any given time. Okay, so with that, I wrote my petition. In my petition, at that time I was in this space. So okay, a few months before we was doing this, my husband had actually broken his leg. He broke his leg in the winter of 2019, and We were doing this in the summer of 2019. So, how I view union and the feminine and the masculine being together is that we one attract one another. So within us, in women, we have something called the animus, and the animus is the subconscious masculine. So the subconscious masculine is basically what attracts the type of masculine presence energy outside of ourselves, right? But it also has a lot to do with where we are that can be of effect to the masculine outside of us as well, right? So also us as feminine women, it plays a huge role and dynamic in the way that the structure of the home goes, the relationship goes. Like in reality, we are, I don't want to say the controllers, but our energetic composition dictates how everything is going, how everything is flowing, the choices that we make, the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we feel. Okay, what is that? The the things that we choose to do, you know, how we choose to operate and show up, how we nurture, how we give, how we receive, how we love, everything. So we really we are the container which carries the vibration of that which is in our realm directly, right? So within that, we can see the state of where we are, the state of the home within us. We can see the state of us within the home, right? So, oh yes, also want to say we are the influence. We are the influence, right? So we have the ability to influence a thing to go in a certain direction. And that's a lot of the reason why a lot of women get into the whole divine feminine aspect of things, because in learning our power, some women do choose to utilize it in order to manipulate, right? Knowing that we have the capability to operate in this way when, or make these things happen when it comes to the masculine, right? And it's not anything that has to really even be seen. These are things that we are the subconscious energy. We are the darkness. We are the womb. You know, it's not something that we even have to talk about. This is like an essence. It is what exists in everything it is that we do. So, back to the story. When it came to my petition, the things that I wrote about was showing me what it is that I need to see very clearly in order for me to be in the space it is for the union, the unity within my home to be exalted, expanded benevolently, right? Because just because something is exalted doesn't mean an exaltation is in its benevolence, right? Because everything exists on a pole, and that pole is how it expresses itself is on a spectrum, right? It's either balanced or one way, one side is leaning more to the other side, right? So, excuse me, y'all. I just drank some water. But, so I was really focused on my energy as a feminine woman, knowing what it is that I needed to know, seeing what it is I need to see, feeling, having the clarity it is that I needed in order to be showing up in that way that I need to be showing up for my home, for my family, for my husband, you know. But also, I wanted my enemies to be revealed to me. I wanted them to be removed from my life, right? I also wanted to know, you know, I wanted to release anything that just was no longer serving me up until that point, to support my life to start growing again. Not really growing, but to start recalibrating itself, right? Because, you know, I've been a stay-at-home mother since my son was 6. Well, since my son was 6, since my son was born. And before that, I was just simply a stay-at-home wife. Like, so I stopped working in 2015. 2015, I stopped working in 2015. And um, up until that point, you know, I was just a caretaker of the home and, you know, support and just doing my thing. Being very much in my high priestess energy, my empress energy, both, you know, all day, every day. So with that, things after my husband had broke his leg, well, even before that, like, I was going through a lot emotionally. I was just having a hard time getting a handle on things. Like, I didn't really have a lot of help when it came to like raising my son for real. And that's for various reasons. It's not really important, honestly. It's I just didn't have, because, you know, we live differently in a sense, and I don't even think that had anything to do with it. Like, you know, people have their own lives for real. You know, people just have their own lives. Let's just leave it at that. So with that, you know, I just wanted to start the process in cleansing all of these things out of my life. I wanted anything that was not supportive of what it is that I was trying to accomplish, the life it is that I was trying to live, to be gone, right? I wanted to clear any blockages that, or remove literally any obstacles that were in my way of healing, right? Um, of my happiness, of my joy, right? Of me feeling good, of, you know, me just getting back in accordance with me for real. Because at this time, my son was only 2, you know, so I was still very much in like postpartum mode. Like, my cycle hadn't even returned or anything like that, but it did return at the end of the year, by the end of the year. And that is, I'll talk about that at a different time, So with that, we did our jars. All right. Put our herbs in there, prayed over them, blessed them, you know, did all the usual steps and everything. And then we buried them. So I buried mine in a park that was at the end of my street. And the park, it's not, I mean, it's a cool park. It has like a creek going through it. It has, what else? It has a lot of trees, a lot of vegetation life out there, you know, but at the same time, the trees, they are not like, you know, this ain't Northern California, ain't no redwood trees or nothing like that. So it's abundant, but the abundance isn't necessarily, I don't know how to put it. It's not like the trees are lacking leaves. Everything is just a very slim. That's a good word to put it. Everything's very slim, you know. So with that, I buried them under like a group of trees or whatever. And in that, I left, you know. I walked back to my car and drove back home. Now Jazz, she buried hers across the street from her job. Basically like in a construction site underneath some rocks. all these things matter a lot, right? Because the energy of things, the spirit of things, right? So a week later, or that weekend, so we did this one weekend, and then the next weekend she came out to Houston, because it happened like 7 days, right? Because after we went and buried our vinegar jars, then we did our honey jars, made our honey jars. So Jazz arrives to Houston. So I get ready and we like, okay, well, I was like, you want to go ahead and go down to the park? We can place our honey jars in the creek or whatever, because flowing water to get things moving or whatever. So it's so crazy just thinking about this in my stomach, like the butterflies are rising. Just the energy of it. Let me drink some of my tea. So we get ready, we go, right? We get in the car, we talking a little bit. Now for real, it was kind of like a quiet ride, but not really. And so we driving down the street, we turn out the apartments, and next to our apartments is 2 other apartment complexes. So we driving, talking a little bit or whatever, and we finally pass up the last apartments that's on the street, and I hear Jazz whisper something. She say it's so low. She like something about, no, that man was hanging. I'm like, what? And at first when she told me that, I didn't understand what she was meaning, because she whispered it damn near, and I'm like, what? And so she was like, it was a man. She's like, it was a man hanging. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, what? Like, just confused. So I turn around. I was like, girl, what are you talking about? So I turn around the street and make this U-turn. And I make this U-turn and I look to my left, and this man was hanging. He woke up that morning and did not choose life. This man had hung himself off the side of his patio. And when I seen that, this flood of feeling went through me. All these thoughts, all these many things, many things. I was thinking about the people who live there, the people who live across from him, the person who could have possibly have found him, right? The person who lived under him, the people who worked there, and just how these things were affecting him, and what could have possibly encouraged him to do this. You know, I didn't know the man from anything, but when I seen it, like I stopped the car and I put my face in my hands, and was just like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So we looked, and it was a bunch of, I don't know if his body had already, when it fell, if it turned on its own, or if the workers turned his body, because by this time his face was to the inside of the apartment, to the inside of the patio. Like, his body, we couldn't see his face, but we could see the back of his body. And so and he didn't have no shirt on, he just had these blue pants on. And it's so crazy, because if you ever have seen the hangman in the tarot, he has on blue pants. And so the workers were there, and I think the ambulance had only made it there. So we ended up still going ahead and going down to the creek, and tossing our honey jars in there. And we was just like, oh my goodness, like I really can't believe that. And it was just a really wild thing, you know, because when we got back to the house, we was initially supposed to be going to do this and then going to the grocery store to get some groceries because we was gonna cook and I had to take a minute and go back to the house and sit down, and because I had to gather myself, because I was like, oh whoa. So of course, me and Jazz, being me and Jazz, we pulled up the astrology of the day. And we just like, what kind of energy would have influenced this? So we ended up reading the astrology for the day and really just came up with an entire story. For real, I don't even remember what the story was, but Neptune was involved, the sun, money, relationships, things like that, stuff like that. And it was just a really, really wild experience. So outside of the hanging man, other things came up. So I had this friend, like I hadn't really been around them in a long time, and so one day, this was within the span before we had went to yeah, this was before we had, because I remember talking to my cousin on the phone and telling her about all this, because I was like, and then so and so called me earlier this week talking about they done got bit on the finger by a spider. All right, so when I tell Jazz this, she's like, whoa, because that week she had watched David Palmer, the Leo King. He's an astrologer. He used to do it a weekly astrology. I don't know if he still does that, but he basically was talking about finding out how it's that someone is not your friend in the way you think they are. He's like, and it could be something random, like a bite happening, us having a spider bite on the finger. And it was just like, what? Like, okay. So after that, that was basically, it basically showed me that this person was not someone that I could be talking about what's going on in my life, excuse me, and be telling them, being open with them with what's taking place in my life, you know, or just even opening up to them about anything. Because this wasn't a person that I would be calling and talk to. They would be calling me and everything like that. And I already had my suspicions based off of me knowing the type of person that they were, the type of things that they were into. But, you know, I was still letting bygones be bygones, you know, and eventually I just let things fade away as they faded away. Like I wasn't answering the phone as often as I usually would, and just changing the whole dynamic of things. So what that did for me with that experience is what I asked for in that petition, it did that, because what it did was show me the subtle things that I had not been seeing correctly when it came to the masculine, right? And within that, when us as women, when we are perceiving things of the masculine in a certain way, it's simply out of us being that way within our subconscious mind, right? Maybe some belief, some thought, or something that we're holding on to. Maybe some way of thinking, some way of being when it comes to the masculine. Okay, maybe we were influenced into this nature based off of our experiences with our fathers, our uncles, you know, our the men in our family, you know, or just past relationships. Because as time went on, what I learned is that it had a lot to do with my past relationships. And it had me in the space of it showed me where my value was, where I seen my value, where my perception was in my value, because consciously it was there, but on a subconscious level, it was almost like a throwaway kind of energy. And I didn't realize that, but I, at the same time, I did, because I hadn't been myself in love how I had been as I was younger. And as time has gone on, as I have grown, you know, because at that time, what was that? That was the year I went through my Saturn return, right? So that was when transiting Saturn came exact to my natal Saturn. But that didn't happen till like closer to the end of 2019. And basically it had me in a space of seeing what it is that I need to see. Like, it had me pausing, coming to a literal pause in the action I was taking, in how I was interacting, in recognizing my thoughts, like how the thoughts that would come up when a conversation would happen or experience would happen. And when I tell you, it changed everything within my relationship. It literally, it changed everything. It changed everything. Because at that point, once that happened, I really got to see, as things was changing, my life experience within it started rippling, right? It's still very much so undoing itself, because the thing about this work, Conjure, for certain, hoodoo, even, like, it's a matter of timing, right? And some things happen immediately and it's done with. Some things are a process, right? It happens in steps, right? Especially whatever it is that you're asking. And when it has to do with things within the self, it brings forth an undoing, right? The spirits come through and they like, okay, let's get this. You know, they bring experiences into your life, happenings in your life, so that it can push you in the direction in which that you asked, what you requested, right? It's all in a matter of being willing to do the work, being willing to take the steps of what it is that's necessary in order to bring it to fruition. This is not just a one and done kind of thing. Like, one thing I used to always say, like this, it's not Sabrina the Teenage Witch. We can't just snap our fingers and voila, right? It's work, conjure work, right? Root work. It's a work, right? So it's, yes, spirit, but it is also making sure we're utilizing the tools in which we have here on this earthly plane to come up out of whatever it is, right? Or to support in manifesting whatever it is. And sometimes we've already been investing in things, and they just come out and come it through and sweep the debris and bring the fruition of it, you know. So, man, I have these tarot cards right here. Does the hangman have on blue pants? Or maybe he has on red pants and a blue jacket. Either way, the hangman is hanging by his legs anyway, you know. So y'all give me a minute. Here we go. Oh, he got red pants on, but it was still in the same wow. So This is the Hangman. But he's hanging from his foot here, and he has this orb of God around his head, right? So he's been enlightened to something. He is coming to some new understanding, seeing things differently, right? So that he can turn himself right up, and be able to see things from the perspective that is going to help him move forward with that enlightenment, right? Clearing the fog, right? Because the Hangman can also speak about a false perception too, not seeing things clearly, not seeing any way out, right? And needing to take a minute to see the full picture, because the Hangman in the tarot, it is the precipice point. There are 21 major arcana cards. How does this become a tarot lesson? Okay, we're gonna go with it. There are 21 major arcana cards, and the Hangman is in the middle, because it's that point in the journey where you're at this place where you take a moment to pause and be like, okay, I've been doing all these things, right? I took the risk, right? I garnered my will and took action. Okay, I moved forward and went within and seeing what the truth was, connected with God, connected with my inner wisdom, my inner guide. Okay, then I got out my own way and let myself support and be supported, okay, and laid down the structure in what it was in my world, in my life, and in my kingdom, in my rulership, in my authority, and acted within that, by my own volition, right? Then we have, then I got married, all right, then I committed to something. I chose a tradition. I chose a law for my life, right? What laws it was that I'm gonna abide by, okay? And then after that, what is 6? I don't even remember. The 6th major arcana card, I think, is I can't remember. So you go through all these steps, right? And by the time you get to the Hangman, you come to this place where you're just like, okay, what something's not working, and why is it not working? How can I help it work? What do I need to see differently? How can I see things clearly? What? Oh, okay. And then you made a choice, right? After you came into the law, right? You made a choice. You decided on what direction it was that you were going to go into, what it is that you wanted to, based on your beliefs, who it is best relates to you, who deserves, as you feel, to be in your realm, right? And making sure that you have in the people around you that support you, right? That really help you be able to always see things clearly, that you can go to for counsel, right? That you can go to for support, even, because that's the Lover's card. And then you take action, right, from a heart-based effort, going forward unapologetically. Like, at this point, you are in it to win it, right? But then you come to the space, you need the strength, you need the ability to adapt to the circumstance of what's going on, right? The courage and the confidence to continue to go forward in doing what it is that you need to do, that you want to do, right? How you want to do it. And so it's a path, right? It's a path that either that you have that is less chosen, that has not been chosen, or it's a path that you knew that you was always going to be on. It's the fool's journey, literally. And we are constantly going through these journeys, right? And constantly experiencing situations, life happenings that will support us in getting to that completion, to the world, okay, and letting us really be able to grasp what it is. Because once we go through kind of like this space of building up our confidence, staying strong through the hard times, we go inside and we go to reflect, right? And focus on the details and see what it is, what's the wisdom it is that we've gained, right? That, because that's the Hermit card. And then we get into the Wheel of Fortune, and the wheel turns and our karma changes based off of the action it is that we've invested, right? So that all, that fated energy all determines, or yeah, it's determined based off of what it is that you have done. Our actions base our fate. Nothing in life is truly fated, like it had to happen. It's like, what were you doing that led up to this kind of thing, right? And then we get the justice it is that we were seeking. The scales are balanced, right? Whether in your favor or not, depending on the life in which it is that you were living on this journey, right? And based on that justice that comes, whatever, however it is, we take a break. We take a pause. We get to this point of, okay, I need to see things a little bit differently, right? I was either not seeing anything clearly, or I realized that I have been seeing things how it is that I've needed to see them, up until this point, all this time. And this work, although it was very intense and shocking, but that's vinegar, right? It's abrasive, it's caustic, it is intense, okay? It's shocking. If you give somebody a cup of vinegar and tell them it's water and they drink it, they're gonna be shocked. Like, what is this? The smell gonna shock them, all right? If they don't get past that point, okay? So with this, for a long time, it took me a long time to drive back down Park Row. Okay. And after not being able to drive down Park Row, granted, I had a acupuncture appointment coming up, so that helped me move that energy fully out of my body, right? And about a few days later, it was nothing. Like, granted, every time I drove by there, because we still ended up staying there for, I think that was the last year we stayed there. We had been staying there for like two years. And anytime I did drive by there, I never forgot about it. I remembered it, but it was more of a feeling of not necessarily sadness. What's the word for it? It was more of a feeling of reverence, I guess is the best word, than shock or fright, or anything else of that term, So it truly brought me to a space of unconditional love. Not that I hadn't always had unconditional love for the masculine, like on a conscious level as a young girl. Yes, I did. Like, that's a story for another time. But, you go through things, you become jaded, you hold on to stuff. I got a Capricorn moon that's conjunct 3 other planets in Capricorn, okay? I'd be holding on to stuff. But this path has helped me release a lot of things. So, yeah, y'all, that is this Conjure story, the Hangman. Y'all make sure y'all go check out Jazz and all her wonderful astrological information. She does Reiki once a month and a new moon gathering once a month and setting intentions, and it's always a good time. So yes, y'all, thank y'all for sitting with me and listening to this story. I hope it brings you something, all right? Piques your curiosity. So yes, I will talk to y'all very soon, and don't forget to sign up for our Ancestral Veneration class That is next weekend, okay? It's gonna be a good time, and I look forward to seeing you, those of you who join us. And yeah, that's it. Bye for now.